to the black community. White kids weren't wearing those jackets. They didn't start wearing black stuff until hip-hop caught them. They sent that stuff directly to black stores. All those symbols. And most of them still, they sit up and play cards every day and have no idea that deck of cards is a emblematic of science. 52 cards, 52 days in a week, 5 and 2 is 7. There's the king, the queen, and the jack, and the ace. Ace is Allah, or God. It's a science. That's what the old ones did with the knowledge. They put it into toys to keep it alive down through culture. That's where they hid it. Dice, the same thing. Okay, maybe it'll come to me. I got something I wanted to start with, but I can always wind my way back to it. Being Gemini, Sagittarius, I usually don't start off in the right direction. Emiola, did you zoom in on this? All right. We're going to look at the 30 degrees of Libra, which is the 7th sign in the zodiac. And we finished half of the circle with 6. Philosophically, in the 6 days of creation is represented of half of creation. On the 7th day, rest. In other words, rest is not sleep. It is balance, halting at a certain level or rate of speed on the 7th day. The creation then goes on, because the first part of creation is on the mental plane. So when you look in the scripture and begin reading about these animals and beasts of the fields and these wild things, these are ideas in universal mind before they become physical things on the physical plane. If you view that, take that point of view, particularly Genesis will make more sense. See, particularly when you look at Adam and Eve as we've done, and in part, anyway, we'll take another look at it again. The unfolding of, now I use the scriptures to explain a lot of science because I'm very much conscious that the one book most black folks believe in is the Bible, And anybody who reads the Bible on any regular basis has got to get to the point where they are mystified by what the Bible means. My first encounter was a brother saying, I heard a brother talking, older man, I was a young boy, that Bible is a mystery. No man can understand, that was his piece of wisdom. Why in the world would the creator of all things send a body of knowledge that would mystify people forever? Does that make any sense? On the rational plane of mind, but that's where consciousness was. And I'm talking about like the 40s. When I remember somewhere in the 40s, I heard this profound statement from this Negro deacon. And it didn't catch my mind either. I was just as overwhelmed because I had never picked up a Bible at the time, But we need to understand that the universe is meant to be understood. That the order of life is not ignorance. It is knowledge. It is knowing where you're going, where you are, and why you're going where you're going. See? Part of this understanding of identity, self-knowledge, and self-revelation is to know who you are, what you are, and where you are. That is the clearest definitive of the other synonymic meaning of more, is navigator. See, one of the other major aspects of the Moor's work on the planet was that they were the navigators of the collected bodies of people. They knew how to get from point A to point S or J or K. There's a remarkable depiction of a map found by Ivan van Sertima that he bought a photograph of from a Russian anthropologist for 2,400 rubles. I don't know how much money that is in American money. And on that particular map, there were no numbers. There were only lines, straight directive lines. They didn't need numbers. They had such a astronomical grasp of direction that they simply needed to state it on a map with lines. I think he put that in They Came Before Columbus. I think he has a picture of it. At least he did in his earlier book. But it was quite an eye-opener in terms of the science of the Moors, because that's physical science, not spiritual. And most historians render up the physical aspects of this science of building, this science of developing, this science of growth in terms of the earth plane. That's the first part of it they dealt with. Well, while I'm on the subject, the first Moors during the 7th century, approximately 700 AD, were the ones that came into Europe before Tariq Jabral, were brick masons, stone masons. They were commissioned by kings and emperors of other countries, European countries, to come in and build their cathedrals, their palaces, and other remarkable buildings, because the European did not have that knowledge. Okay? That's how you review things, by omission. If I send for a plumber from Decatur, that means I can't find a plumber in Atlanta. You know that's one way you understand who was doing what well. Okay, there would be no reason for me to send for a plumber in Decatur if there was one that I knew about that was proficient here. And they're coming into Europe at that time, what was unarmed, but armed with the knowledge of architectural structuring and the law that governed the land. Now that meant they understood the law that governed Europe's land and Africa's land, and they were exempt from the laws that govern France or Germany or Italy or Spain. They had their own law. They were a law unto themselves. I'm talking about black folks now, going into an all-white neighborhood. Okay? What we're talking about here in terms of how powerful the Moors were, because their reputation preceded them. You see? In other words, somebody told them about these remarkable stonemasons in Africa, in North Africa, that could erect these remarkable buildings, these citadels, so that we understand the tremendous mental power that these men had, you see. And once again, we can appreciate the concept, knowledge is power. Okay? So we're at this point of the zodiac at the point of rest, the 7th day, the number 7, and the 7th sign. The 6 signs, what am I doing, dragging the car?
No, you're okay. Just put the bag on the floor.
Oh, okay. The 6th sign, let me move his coffee out of the way. Most of them probably thinking, the brother's drinking herb tea. I'm such a coffee junkie. The 6 signs represent the original concept of what 6 means as creative. And the other 6 are the reflection of. Okay? Now, the way we're to understand it is understanding the law of duality, the law of opposites. Okay? So what's the opposite? Is there a Libra in here? Anybody a Libra? I think we had one Libra, didn't come back, did he? Or she? Well, anyway, the opposite of Libra is what? my sister. I want y'all to study. Okay, like I told you, I'm going to say it again. I'm not a buck dancer. I want some students in here. Y'all can turn on TV, you want to get entertained. Just stay home. If you want to get entertained, just stay home and turn the damn TV on. Call up and maybe they'll deliver y'all some tapes. But I want you to study. And Leo, I want you to come in here with a notebook, my sugar. You're a very bright woman. I can see it in your face. You're very bright.
Is it Aries?
Very good, very good. Aries is a reflection of Libra. And Libra, of course, is an air sign. And we jump into the symbological, metaphysical meaning of things, okay? And this is in accord with Moorish science and also in accord with a very big statement made in this book here. Let me see if I can walk down here and grab a copy of it. Yeah, you got a copy of yeah, there it is, okay. It's one reason I like doing lectures in a bookstore, because whenever I'm doing a lecture, usually I got a book in mind I want to tell black folks about. Damn, the brothers think, oh good, okay, thank you. The brothers' stuff here got thin, man, you see that? See, he handed to, well, Black Classic Press is doing. When this brother put this book out, he had a book fat as this Bible. It was a big old book. Now it's a collector's item. He was publishing it then. Maybe it's the same pages in here. But he states in this particular book, Black Man of the Nile, excellent piece of corrective African history. Excellent, excellent. At least there was a segment of bibliography in here. It will keep you in the library till you get to be as gray as I am. Remarkable references. And books that normally we don't know and hear about. That fortunately now Atlanta has many of those books on these shelves. I see the brother still didn't get any. Didn't come in. Okay, well that's good, I guess. I mean that means they're selling. He states the real problem, and he's talking about the African of Africa. The real problem of Africa is the metaphysical disorientation of the African's mind. Boy, my blood went up about 30 degrees when I read that one. This is like 73, 74. I got a little story I like to tell about that book, but I'll hold it off for now. This was a powerful inspiration for me, because it's the first book of corrective African history that I read from cover to cover. The metaphysical disorientation, now, that's different from crazy, that's different from amnesia, that's different from psychosomatic, you know? That certain knowledge that props the head up right was not there. Certain knowledge that gives the black man and woman and child mental power was not there. You know? You see? And the brother blew it open with that. He blew it open, but see, he couldn't take it too much further because the brother's hooked up in the International Masonic Order. And let me see if he's got his... So there's only so much he could put in here. Because like all Masons, he's sworn to secrecy. Yeah, well, see, the problem is this. That the Masonic Order is not Yosef ben-Jochanan's. It was not C.M. Bay's. They joined it. When you join something, you have to follow the rules and regulations. Otherwise, why join it? Okay, so we can't hold him responsible. But what he does do in here, he does state there's no reason for a European to hand a black man his heritage about who he is and his spiritual birthright. And that's what virtually would happen with the high potentates of the Black Masonic Order. You see? If they were going to go past their local lodge, of course, during Benjamin Banneker's time, there was only one lodge. He was the potentate for the United States African Masonic Lodge on planet Earth. You know? That's how big the brother had become at that point. And it was significant in the cultural directive of how we were going to get this knowledge back after it had been severed in Europe. The cultural and inheritance umbilical cords had been cut when they chased black folks out of Africa, out of Europe, back to Africa. And those who did not leave, that went into the Apoplecsis Mountains, and those that had come as far as Mexico, Mexico, and into Americo, what we now call America, and hid, and those that were in Haiti, I don't know if they had knowledge or not, but there's certainly some indications that if you get that far away from home, you got there by knowledge. You don't wander halfway across the map ignorant. It just don't happen. So we can assume that the earlier Moors that settled in the Americas, which supersedes America, when they say in the Americas, that's Central and Latin, now called America, okay, which Tejas was a part of the Latin Americas, Texas. Okay. California was a part of the Latin Americas. Okay, here's what I wanted to do. If I can just flip up to it. This is probably the second most important book that every black man, woman, and child ought to read. It's called Stolen Legacy. I'll show you in cover in just a minute. Called Stolen Legacy. The sister and I were talking, and we were talking about this problem of black folks not knowing laws. And the only law that they'd become somewhat familiar with were the law of the courts. Well, the other laws that the average black man, woman, and child are familiar with are the 10 Commandments. Okay? Thou shalt not, which Joseph ben-jochanan points out here, comes from the 142 confessions of the Kemetic neophyte student. Initiate is what neophyte means in the University of the old Moorish temple. That's what I like to call the Pyramid of Giza, because virtually that's what it was. The Osirian Mystery School is one of the concepts that it went under, is where they learned spiritual or universal law. When you say spiritual or universal law, you're talking about laws that apply to anybody with a head, 2 arms, and a leg. That's universal law. Okay? Like there are certain laws over here that we adhere to. If you go to France or if you go to Nigeria, they don't apply. You see? That's not a universal law. Those are ordinances. Man cannot make law. He can only make ordinances, rules, and regulations. The law is fixed. Let me show you the concept here so you can see this. That's the word law. Now look at this one. That's law. The difference is this one is visible. When it's here, it's invisible. Okay? Do you see that reverse? That's anagrammatic writing. You can't break that law. That law. It don't break. Okay? It will halt you, but you can't break it. You can break ordinances, rules, and regulations. Okay? Yes, somebody got a question. Go right ahead. Come on out with it. I'm glad to hear some questions. I need some questions. Speak up.
Brother Freeman.
Yes, ma'am.
I was going through one of my videotapes. And going back to when you said the Ten Commandments about thou shalt not.
Yeah. Yeah.
On one of those tapes it said that we have a tendency now of saying I have not. Is that correct also?
In the affirmative, by denial, yes. That's the old approach. I have not violated any man's wife this day. I have not taken anything from any man this day. That's the 142 confessional approach. But that's not affirmative, what I'm saying. In the new cycle, in the New Testament, okay, we're building the New Testament. That's Old Testament approach, okay? In the new mind and the new body is what we mean by New Testament. Tisti, minti. Tisti, body, minti, mind. That's what New Testament, Old Testament mean. We're talking on the affirmative. Okay? That's why we want to affirm that you're already perfect, that you're already healthy, that you're already spiritual, that you have the light, that you see the light. That's affirmative thought. Because you do. Okay. Okay, is why you're doing it. Okay, that's the difference between affirmation, spiritual, and self-hypnosis. You don't need to hypnotize yourself to believe you have the light. You have it, claim it, decree it, declare it, and become it. Okay, that's what real prayer is. You don't have to beg Jesus, oh please Lord, oh, that's fear that makes us do that. Self-doubt. Okay. I was hoping I could, let me see here.
Can I make it?
Yeah, go ahead. You got something to say? Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm thinking about what the young lady said. The law would be, "Thou shalt not."
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, "I have not."
Mm-hmm.
The mental idea of "thou shalt not" means I've done it and I need to be saved from cleansed from what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
The mental idea of "I have not" means I'm okay. I don't need to be saved from something that I've done.
Okay.
And when you look at it that way, it would be the difference in coming with the knowledge of being a God-like person,
Mm-hmm.
and then coming with the knowledge of being an evil person, born in sin.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I'm saying it in a church like.
Well, that's all right, as long as you are explaining it to the best of your ability. Okay, that's very acceptable. Again, the purpose of affirmative thought.
See, like Christianity say we all born in sin.
We all sinned and came short of the glory of God, which is fine.
I shall not. Don't you do that no more.
If you understand that coming down here in the body places you between the law of duality. Secondly, we are all, most of us, are come back beings. We bring stuff back from previous lives that stretch over this enormous period. Okay, the word sin, it comes from the concept in the old language, chitta, which means mistake. But what we need to know is these mistakes of going left, right, are necessary down here. You can't come down here without making mistakes. This is a place of duality. Up and down, left and right, dark and light, hard and soft, health and sickness, ignorance and knowledge. You can't help but get involved in that process, otherwise you can't go left, right. Nobody floats on the air down here, including Jesus. He had to learn how to levitate. Okay? I'm not trying to override with the basic belief. That's all right when you're a baby. When you start growing up, then you need to know why you're a sinner. Okay? But you're not a sinner. You're making mistakes. You're a perfect being. That's what you are by your nature. human and divine. In other words, the car you got works perfectly until you put something in it that clogs it up. Bad thinking, bad food, bad water makes for bad health. You came here perfect, except those who come without certain body parts. Their physical vehicles are impaired. Okay. I was trying to find the 10 laws of the neophyte.
Here they are. These are not they?
They're in this little book, I know for sure. If somebody want to, when you get to them, let me know. We'll, no. The 10 laws of the Osirian Mystery School.
Oh, okay.
Okay, George M. James is the author of that wonderful piece of literature, and puts them in there. Okay, let me get to Libra here, where we're supposed to be. The symbol, as you can see in Libra, is a arc and a parallel line on the side and a straight line here. The straight line always represents the physical plane. That's the level in Moorish and Masonic science. The plump line is represented by this line in the right angle, while the Mason stands on the level and the plump, on the square, in reference to perfection, stands like this. He's talking about perfect body, perfect mind. Usually turn this way when they're talking mind. Because if you notice, when most Christians are particularly holiness folks, and those that have the Holy Ghost, when they're praying, they raise up their hands like this. Like, no, they raise them up like this. Their spirit will raise their hands up like this, if they let it, which is the symbol of perfect mind. The mind of Christ is perfect. Christ consciousness, God consciousness, is the right angle. Saint Vincent is seen in a statue standing upright, holding a right angle ruler in his hand. Catholic saint. And it's St. Vincent de Paul Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. Got the right angle in his hand. I don't know what the rest of them had on their mind, but he knew what was on his. He put it that way. Pointing that out in reference to the level and the plump in this symbol, okay, which is a depiction of Libra or libre, which means scale and or balance in Latin. The Latin word for scale and balance is Libra, Li-BRA in the dictionary, and they do give that little bit of information. I was surprised they gave that little information about the concept Libra. If you note here, zoom in, you got it zoomed in? Night and day I place on the polarity here, because Libra represents this period of time, represents when day and night are equal in the Western Hemisphere. Okay? When things are balanced, that day, whatever length of time it lasts, it is an equal length of time of night. That is not always the case, as we all know. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about when you look at your watch. Okay? This is Georgia time. Okay? This don't say the same thing about New York when you look at your watch in New York. Okay? Human beings can change the zoning of time with the clock. We're talking about nature. Okay? This concept of balance, of equilibrium, is important to our spirituality, our mentality, and our physical humanity, because we're trying to obtain, regain balance in our physical, balance in our mental, balance in our spiritual. It is the key to the whole of proper living on planet Earth, mental planes and spiritual planes. Okay, you're never done with balance. You're trying to keep your balance, regain your balance in your thinking, in your feeling nature, in your spiritual maturity. It would not do you well to have a body full of fire, spiritual fire, and not have your spiritual centers open and be rushed by that energy from your sacral vertebrae. It would throw you way off balance.
Say that again.
It would not do you well to have the spiritual fire, the energy that comes up out of the sacral vertebrae, and bombard your body if your centers are not open to receive that energy so that it's properly distributed throughout the body, which gives you then balance. Okay? That's why you don't start here in your spirituality. You don't want this jumping up there. This is real fire. You know, not like that stuff that burns down the house. This will burn up your astral body and burn up your astral centers. Okay? Which really damages the physical body and the mind when those centers are damaged. But we're talking about balance. This is, in the Kemetic language, this is called Maat, the goddess Maat, the one who wears one feather in her headdress. Okay? The goddess of the two truths. You all can't see that too well. Now I thought about moving this blackboard up here a little closer, but I want you to get these notes, because I'm not going to deal with everything I put up here, but it's your responsibility as a student to get this information. If you don't get it here, of course you're all supposed to ban or rent these tapes too. Okay? I'm not going to stand here like a doorman and hold this now. I'm just going to let you see a little bit. We're going to talk about enough. If you get enough in your consciousness, you'll have much of it up here.
You know how you could do that?
No, just hold, stop. You're interrupting me now. I'm trying to explain some things. I'm supposed to go on here. In the two cups or shells of scales in the ancient, turn to page 316 in this book. Those of you who have this book and ought to have it, you'll find a Egyptian depiction of the scales. Okay? And there's a whole reading on this here. I'm not going to do the whole reading. I want you to see the relevancy of Libra. You see it there? 316. Yeah. The dog-headed god. Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. This is the depiction here. Am I too close? Get a good shot of it?
Okay.
Got it? Okay. Okay, this is the papyri, or vignette, the French word, the French scholar, of course, of the process of the judgment hall. Okay? Now, what we're seeing here in the judgment hall, I'm not going to get, like I said, get into all of it, is what we're seeing here is mene tekel upharsin, which is found in Daniel chapter 5, verse 25. Now this is the concept. It's not about Daniel and some Jews. It's about the concept of balance. Wanting, found in the balance. You have been weighed in the balance and found wanting, is what this being said when his fingers came out and wrote on the wall of one of the Persian kings, whose name escapes me, which is not important. But we're talking about the concept of balance, which is the vibration and symbol of Libra. Okay? This is the real concept of the judgment hall. The concept here is found inside these two vessels. As you can see here, on your right is the feather, and on your left is the heart. Okay, see that? There and there. That's the symbol of the heart, like a vase. See it down there? Okay. Same thing is on your little picture there in your book. Okay, all right. Now, here's where I differ with the author in this book and a couple of others. He's saying that when the heart outweighs the feather with good deeds, then you're given back all of your spirituality and humanity. The spiritual truth is that good deeds are of light and have no weight. That the heart in the spiritual measuring is to be as light as a feather. I don't know why they missed that one. Budge even missed it. We're trying to get a heart of light. This one will light up, and this one will light up. Okay? This is a secret chamber of spiritual knowing. This organ, your soul, will speak to you through, will take you into your own heart. It is the Queen's chamber in the Pyramid of Giza. This is the King's chamber in the Pyramid of Giza. This is a spiritual organism. Why it's so important, why the poets, why those who deal with wisdom poetry talk about the heart. It is most conducive to your spiritual growth and development. This cannot contain both love and fear. If you have a fearful heart, there's no love in your heart. Perfect love does what?
Cleanse.
No, we're turning to Scripture now. Let's get back to the Scripture, then we deal with the synonyms. Perfect love does what? Cast out all fear. Right? That's a principle. It has nothing to do with Christianity. Love is a power. Now, we're not talking about an emotion now. We're talking about the power. This vibrant, rose-tinted vibration that stops all violence, stops all fear, anger, halts it. We talked about this last Sunday. When a woman has divine love in her heart, in her spirit, brother ain't going to slap her upside the head. He ain't going to shout at her too much. Because she got something to stop all that dumb stuff. You see? And vice versa with the brother with a good heart. You see? A part of the feminine aspect of human nature is the heart and love. This is on the left side of the body. This is the feminine side of the human being. This is the masculine side of the human being. Male and female made he them. Yeah. We're both. That does not mean sex. Okay? The brothers who get too much of the female hormone up here, they go to switching. You know? And most of them don't know why. They think God made them like, God made me like, well, you can put that on God if you want to. If God makes you like a woman, you can believe it'll be a goddess-like woman, because that's what God makes. God makes gods. Bad chemistry makes for bad behavior. Ab-subnormal chemistry makes for ab-subnormal behavior. You know, that's the whole solution to homosexuality versus heterosexuality. And this is the androgynous sign, Libra, is androgynous. The male and female aspects of nature, physical and divine. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute, I guess, if I don't keep taking these detours here. What I wanted to do was to read, oh Lord, don't tell me you done sold the last copy of the dictionary. I didn't bring mine.
Which one? Metaphysical?
Yeah, no, what you call it? Gaskell.
Who?
Gaskell. Dictionary of religious and mythological knowledge. Sold it, yeah, even sold it. Had one down here last. I should have brought my darn dictionary. I'll be darn it. Okay, well, we'll get to it. I got the note down here. Read from Gaskell's Dictionary, page 421. The judgment hall in Maat. Okay, well, we'll have to skip over that. I don't have the dictionary. I want to try to recall all that stuff. This whole ordeal here was a mystery given to, is it Nebuchadnezzar?
Yes.
Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel concerning his behavior towards the Hebrews. Okay? And this being comes forward here and corrects his thinking with this mystery, which is supposedly in the Persian language. Hand me that dictionary there, dear. Thank you. Okay. I'm kind of giving more information. I wanted you all to, this is for a student, this is an excellent dictionary to start with. They're not, the reason it's excellent because there are not very many of them. There's some stuff in here Fillmore just went over. He didn't even, when it got to the deeper aspect, he didn't even deal with it, but he leaves hints. He knew about astrology, you know, he knew about the planetary energy and relationship to the spiritual centers, you know, but he just went over it because his commission was to deal with the physiology and the New Testament and its symbological meaning. So he did what he was supposed to do. But he gives a leadway into evaluating the meaning of words. And Dr. Gaskell, in this book, The Dictionary of Mythology and Religious and Mythological Truths, or mythological words, I think is the meaning of it. He had one copy over there last Sunday. Somebody come in and got it. I should expect that, though. Where's all the people that's buying the books? Where in the hell is they? At home studying about themselves, huh? Yeah. You know, I remember I had this experience. The first lecture I did here, I did over on Martin Luther King when these Rastafarian brothers bought this building they called it Africa South. I did some lectures up there and I was telling folks about the Kybalion and giving them something beyond the Kybalion. And this one arrogant little Negro woman, and you could see it in her face, she resented me explaining this stuff to her. She comes and said, is there a book with this in it? I said, no ma'am, there isn't a book with this in it. I said, there's a book with the laws in it, the Kybalion. Well, what is it? I ain't seen a sense. You know? We got a problem with accepting knowledge as valuable, as credible from black folks. You know, of course we learned that. You know, okay, that isn't black folks' fault or problem. We learned that. The teacher was white. You know, because most of the damn books we learned from was somebody white. And the first level books of the story tales and fantasies was about something and somebody white. All the pictures. Little blonde, blue-eyed kids, children playing, having fun, searching out the mysteries of, all were white, you know, and the kids were getting it, you know, and the white girl was living it. She was living romance, you see. She expected to find that romance, and not, it wasn't love she was looking for. She was looking for a storybook prince, you know, her shining knight, and you know.
On a white horse.
You know? But we got an inferiority complex. You know, they got a superiority complex, which is worse. When you think you're better than everybody else, you're really in trouble. God can't even help you then. He got to chop your legs out from under them to get you to see your balance. Of course, that's no compliment for the illusion of inferiority, which is really dangerous. That will make you undermine your own future if you think you are less than somebody else. That means you are less than yourself. You know, don't buy that. That's terrible. That's awful. That is not only an illusion, that is a walking, living nightmare when you think you are less. You can't find your higher powers like that. Okay, you got to get rid of the seeing through the glass darkly. Get the fog out of the way. Okay, let me get back here. It is an air sign, as we mentioned. It is one of the cardinal signs. Now I've been toying with this. I'm going to jump on in Revelations here. I'm going to give you a biggie. I've been toying with it all the way. No, I better leave that alone. Now I better do that one. No, I better leave. That's why my head been going back. That's Gemini and Sagittarius arguing there in one head.
Do it.
Okay, let me get here. The universal mind. And I wish a Libra was here, because this is something Librians do not fare well about themselves, is they have this supreme consciousness that's a natural for them. This is the challenged 30 degrees of illusion of inferiority. Unless somebody else comes and supports their thinking about themselves. This is the personality that can become extraordinarily inspired because someone said so. They cherish compliments. Okay? But this arc here represents higher mind, universal mind. This is reasoning on the earth plane or the physical plane, the rational thinking mind. Okay? Is the significance of this remarkable symbol here called the scale, and definitely depicts balance. And what is the other planet governed by Venus? What other sign is governed also by Venus? Very good, Taurus. Because we did Taurus once. But I'm going to give a little bit more information on Venus than I did that day. The first concept I ejected from the volumes is the light of beauty. And the significance of this is that we have to wonder where this universal love is going to come from. Okay? We need to understand physical things vibrating is energy decreased, spirit decreased. Things vibrating on an invisible plane is matter increased. That it's one and same thing. That you're already spiritual. You're already living in a spiritual energy field. But some of it is dense, slow moving energy. Other is high, fast moving energy. Okay? But it's all the same essence, the same energy. It gets so fine that you can't feel it. Okay? That's where these other 3 planets are vibrating out there in our solar system. Theoretically, it's still theory that there are 12 planets. But it makes sense. If there are 12 signs, there are 12 planets. And one planet doesn't necessarily govern 2 signs. Okay? Our last 2 planets found were in the 30s and 40s. Uranus and Neptune, Pluto and Neptune, were just found in 1930. If you look in the Bible, the representation in symbology is only 7 planets, 7 centers. You got 9 centers from here to here, and you got more on the invisible plane when your spiritual pole is raised up. Yeah. So we're dealing with the system called out by your ancestors of 12 constellations in our universe, and there are 14 constellations in our universe. See, but 12 are called out. Okay, you hear me when I say that called out? All right, okay. Mapped out. Okay, in this exact circle of 360 degrees. You see? So that we know that the universe, universal mind, what we call God, designed it so. You see? It's not a mistake, a mishap, or they happen to register 12 out of the 14, just got lucky or something. Okay? That this is both human and divine measuring, okay, as stated in the book of Revelations. The light of beauty, this power. Beauty is, he's got, excuse me a minute. Brother Bay, bring me your fez. This beauty vibration is burgundy. Not a representation of burgundy. The vibration of beauty is burgundy in its vibration. There's a spiritual energy that emits burgundy. It comes up from black. Before it gets to be dark red, it's burgundy. Okay? So out, thank you. Right out of the darkness, pure black substance, comes this vibration. Okay? It's in the spirit. It's even a little darker than this. But it's the spirit of beauty that you do not find in the New Testament. Jesus is not accredited with talking about the spirit of beauty. And now here's the most interesting phenomena, I think, in the Bible concerning such a spiritual classic power. The attributing to beauty is only in reference to Lucifer as the son of morning in the book of Isaiah. I'm going to show you something else here in a minute. But I wanted you to see that. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm trying to touch on some things here. Like the sister said, I kept touching on so many things. That's part of what I'm doing, is giving you some keys. But if you don't go back and read, it won't mean anything. You just have some keys, and it won't have no damn doors to unlock. Okay? What good is a key without a door? It's like, what good is finding a door if you don't have a key? So if you study, you'll have the keys that will unlock those things that passed you by previously. And sometimes when your mind is on this information, it just clicks. Oh, that's what that means. You know, it just does it, okay? That's where consciousness works. Did I write? I know I didn't write it down. Isaiah. Let me see here. I don't even think, this is the thing that used to bug me about Budge's book. Like I just certainly would like the word beauty. I don't even think it's in here. Because if he explains that, he's got to explain some other things about which are been classified on the negative side. Like the book is divided between Hebrew and Jew and Egypt. In the Old Testament, the adversary of God's chosen is Egypt. Okay? So when you read this, almost every term in reference to an Egyptian name is going to be something negative or on a lower plane. Except when he gets to the deeper meaning, he uses the word obscure. You know? Why is that? That's what the Kabbalists did with Egypt, the history of Kemet, and the history of the Hebrew, the Jew. Okay, they divided. The Kabbalists were neither. They were scientists dealing with ancient Moorish knowledge, you know, as they structured this book and were inspired to do so. I mean, you know, the Spirit set it up that way. The old kingdoms of the world are the kingdoms run and ruled by your ancestors during the ancient period of time. We just lost authority in approximately 1400 AD. That's when Moorish authority dropped. You know, if slavery hadn't been so harsh and they hadn't done this mental trick, we could reason this thing out why we lost authority. But we not only lost authority, but they decided to trample upon us. You know, they turned right around and broke the laws themselves. You know, you don't put your enemy in slavery. You put him in prison for a time, then you let him out. I mean, that's what the book of Leviticus is talking about. You know? But they decided to use us as chattel, which is the Latin word for cattle, beast of the field. And that's when they got in trouble. See? Okay, let me, I'm trying to keep my point here. But I was looking, beauty is not in here. Okay? There are very few that even deal with it. You know, it's one of the special mysteries of classified knowledge, keep out. That's what a mystery is, private knowledge, keep out. See? But I want to get some doors open because you all are supposed to be meditating. Okay? Now, this, as I mentioned before, and I'm going to mention it every class, this is just interesting stuff if you're not going to meditate. Okay? If you hold this in consciousness and do meditate, things will open up. Okay? You'll gain understanding as you gain energy. And as you gain understanding and energy, you automatically gain power. Okay? And the thing is to acquire your reborn talents, the stuff you came back here with. You got something going for you. What is it? It's what you're supposed to be trying to figure out. Not trying to figure out what's wrong with the white boy. You know? So try to figure out what's right with you. Then you'll have some insight. Okay? Otherwise, you become very frustrated. Okay, let's see here. I don't have that book, so there's 2 paragraphs I can't read. Okay, I want to read the information on Libra in this particular book. All of the arts that are in relationship to the vibratory harmony of beauty, and this is an enormous concept. Everything we admire as an ideal of what is beautiful, wonderful, perfect, refined is from the concept of beauty. Not the stuff that somebody over here is saying, if you got blue eyes and pale skin and blonde hair, you're beautiful, and if you do not, you're not. Okay? that really has to be corrected. And I never got a chance to deal with this topic. The Americanization of African beauty is what transpired through propaganda, and then later advertising, and the European American bought Hitler's concept, even though they kicked his butt. They brought blonde hair, blue eyes, pale skin over here as the standard of beauty. Okay? And Hollywood picked it up and snowballed it into multi-billion-dollar business. See? The standard of beauty in Europe before 1400 AD was dark skin, broad nose, thick lips, and furrowed or curled hair. That was the standard of beauty. And bam and bam. I like when the brothers be doing that. That was the standard of beauty, you know, in Europe. You know, in other words, the white girl was trying to get some junk in her trunk, you know, That's what that bustle and that whalebone corset was all about. And if she didn't have nothing there, she'd pad them up here too, because the sister switching through her house hole didn't have nothing up there.